Before every breakthrough, before every transformation, before every moment where life finally shifts, there is always a collapse. This story begins on a cold, silent night, the kind of night where even the air feels heavy, the kind of night where the universe whispers, "Are you ready to change?" Our main character, Adrian, sat alone in a tiny room barely the size of a closet. Bills scattered on the floor, phone on low battery, heart even lower. He wasn't always like this. Once he dreamed big, once he believed, but his life has strange ways of breaking even the strongest spirits. The job he lost, the friendship that faded, the opportunities that slipped through his fingers. Everything felt like a slow motion collapse. And on this night, he whispered to himself, "I don't know how much more I can take." But what he didn't realize was this: the universe destroys your old life the moment your new life is ready to enter. Rock bottom is not failure. Rock bottom is the doorway. At 3:14 a.m., unable to sleep, Adrian stepped outside. The streets were empty, the moon hung low, the world was still, but something strange happened. For the first time in months, he felt calm. Not happy, not excited, just quiet. Inside that quietness, a thought appeared so clearly it felt like someone whispered it into his mind. "You were never meant to live like this." He froze. Then another thought followed. "Your struggle is not punishment, it's preparation." These words hit him so hard he had to sit down on a cold step. And in that moment, without knowing why, he felt the tiniest spark inside himself. A spark he thought life had killed long ago. It wasn't hope, it wasn't confidence, it was something simpler. A sense that life wasn't done with him yet. He went back inside, sat on the floor, and began writing in an old notebook. "I want to rebuild. I want to escape this reality. I want money to flow to me. I want to feel free again." He didn't realize it then, but this was his first alignment moment. The moment he shifted from victimhood to energy creation. The moment his frequency started rising. The moment money began moving towards him. The next morning, something strange happened. He received an email, a message he did not want to see. A debt he thought was sorted was back, and the amount had increased. He felt his chest tightened, but then he remembered the whisper from the last night. And instead of panicking, he said, "I'm being tested. I'm not reacting the same anymore." This single choice, this tiny reaction shifted his entire timeline. Because the universe worked like this. When you don't crumble under pressure, you signal that you're ready to receive more. Adrian didn't know it then, but that morning he passed the final spiritual test, and 24 hours later, the first miracle arrived. He was scrolling through his email, half distracted, half hungry, when he saw it. Refund processed. $87 released to your account. He blinked, he frowned. He didn't even remember what this refund was for. But at that moment, he felt deeper, something deeper. A shift, a sign, a message. Money had moved towards him for the first time in months. It wasn't a lot, but the amount didn't matter. What mattered was the meaning. You changed your energy and now money can find you. He sat back, breathed deeply, and whispered, "This is just the beginning." You remember where we left off. Adrian, the man who had hit rock bottom, the man who felt he had nothing left, had just discovered the moment that would change his life forever. The crack in the old radio, the strange, impossible, unbelievable whisper, money is flowing, just start walking. And whether that voice came from the radio or from his future self or from the universe itself, it didn't matter. Because something inside Adrian woke up, a spark, a shift, a decision. And that is where this chapter begins. Adrian didn't sleep that night. He couldn't. He lay on the floor of his tiny apartment, staring at the ceiling, feeling something he hadn't felt in months. Not hope, not excitement, not confidence, something deeper, alignment. It felt like the universe had carved a doorway in the darkness, and for the first time he could see the fainted glow behind it. But here's what he didn't know. Everyone who is about to manifest something big, a big through, a shift, a miracle, first goes through a night like this, a night of surrender, a night where everything hurts but somehow feels right, a night where your old self begins dissolving and your new self begins forming. Adrian was right there in the middle of his rebirth. Around 11 p.m., Adrian got up, walked into the small balcony of his apartment and whispered, "Okay, I don't know if this is real. I don't know if I am imagining everything. But if you're listening, show me what to do." And the universe responded in the most unexpected way: silence. But silence is not emptiness. Silence is space. Space for new instructions, new downloads, new directions. And in that silence, Adrian felt something shift inside his chest, a pull, a nudge, a knowing. He didn't hear words this time. He didn't see visions. But he became absolutely sure of one thing. He needed to change his vibration, not his situation. Because situation bends to vibration, reality bends to frequency, money bends to energy. He finally understood that. Adrian woke before sunrise, and for the first time in years, he didn't wake up feeling heavy. Something was different. His mind felt clear. His chest felt lighter. His energy felt cleaner. He looked outside and saw morning sunlight hitting the city buildings, and for a moment he felt grateful. Grateful for nothing and everything. But didn't know this yet, but gratitude is the fastest highway to manifestation. And in that moment, he stepped on it without realizing. He got ready, wore his one clean shirt, and decided he wouldn't stay home drowning in thoughts. He would walk, exactly as the voice had said. Adrian walked with no destination, just one intention: I am open. He kept repeating it under his breath: I am open, I am open, I am open. And something wild happened. The more he said it, the more opportunities began surfacing around him. A poster outside a shop, hiring part-time help needed. A cafe window, looking for morning staff. A building notice board, delivery boys wanted flexible hours. And then a man bumped into him, a normal bump, nothing unusual, except the man turned around and said, "Hey, aren't you Adrian? We were in the college together." It was Rishi, someone Adrian hadn't seen in 10 years. someone who happened to own a small marketing startup now, someone who badly needed help, someone who said, "Bro, I have been looking for someone exactly like you. Do you have time today?" That moment, that meeting was not random. The universe rearranged it because manifestation is not magic, manifestation is mathematics. When your vibration changes, your timeline changes. When your timeline changes, your people change. When your people change, your opportunity change. Rishi didn't offer a job. He offered a chance, a project, a short term gig, something small but something paid. Money was moving just like the voice had promised. And here's the craziest part: Adrian didn't even say yes immediately because he felt something even deeper. This wasn't the final manifestation, this was the first stepping stone. He could feel more coming, bigger money, bigger shift, bigger blessings. But he said yes anyway, because he knew the universe rewards momentum. The law of the first step. There is a universal law most people ignore. Take the first step in the dark, and the universe light the next one. Adrian's yes was the ignition point, the matchstick, the spark, the vibration shift. He didn't realize this yet, but his frequency had just crossed the threshold. The point where reality begins bending, the point where universe begins responding instantly, and in manifestations, the point is everything. When Adrian accepted the gig, Rishi handed him an advance payment. Not a big amount, but bigger than Adrian's had seen in months. Just enough to buy grocery and save a little. Adrian walked out of the cafe holding the envelope, and the moment sunlight touched it, he felt it. A wave of energy, hot, tingling, warm, rushing through his hands, up his arms, into his chest, and settling into his heart. It felt like the universe whispering, "Good, you moved now, I move." This was the first time Adrian felt the reality of law of attraction, not as motivation, not as belief, as a physical experience. As he walked home, the strange voice from the radio returned, but this time it whispered inside him, not outside, and it said just one thing: "You took the first step, now be ready, I am not done." Adrian stopped walking, his heartbeat speed up because he could feel it again. The presence, the guidance, the universal momentum. Something was coming, something big, and he was finally ready for it. When you are ready, say. When Adrian reached home, he placed the envelope on the small wooden table, and something strange happened. He kept staring at it. There was nothing special about that envelope. It wasn't heavy, it wasn't thick, it wasn't life-changing money, but it felt different. Almost like the envelope itself had a heartbeat, a pulse, a frequency. And the more he looked at it, the more he realized this wasn't money, this was momentum. This was confirmation, activation, alignment. Adrian didn't know this yet, but when manifestation begins, money always shows up in small signs first. Not because the universe is slow, but because you need to become a match for more. And Adrian was becoming a match. He sat down, closed his eyes, and breathed deeply. Something inside him whispered, "Do not go back to your old vibration, not today, not after what just shifted." Adrian had spent months drowning in lack, fear, stress, worry. But today, something inside him refused to let the vibration return. For the first time ever, he was guarding his energy. He was protecting his frequency. He was saying no to the old timeline and yes to the new one. And you can feel this too, can't you? That moment in life where you know you're not going back because the universe has already shown you a glimpse of what is coming. The mirror moment. Adrian walked to the bathroom and looked into the mirror, but he didn't see the version of himself who had been struggling. He saw someone else, someone who had survived, someone who had awakened, someone who had remembered who they are. He whispered, "I don't know what's happening, but I trust it." And right there in that tiny bathroom, he made a silent promise. Whatever is coming, I'm ready. No fear, no doubts, no turning back. That one affirmation shifted his vibration more than anything he had done in years. Because the universe expands people who expands themselves. Later that evening, as Adrian prepared to start the gig, Rishi had given him his phone rang. An unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something nudged him, a familiar, intuitive pull. He picked up, a warm voice said, "Is this Adrian? I got your number from someone." Adrian's stomach tightened, not in fear, but in anticipation. The voice continued, "I heard you're good with content creation. I'm looking for someone for a 3-week project. Are you available?" Adrian froze. This was not just random. This was stacking. One opportunity becoming two, two becoming three, three becoming momentum. This is how manifestation money works. Once you shift your frequency, the universe sends everything at once. He said, without thinking, without hesitating, without doubting, because he knew this was the second breadcrumb, the second signal, the second step of the path being built from him. Money manifestations often come in cluster, not one payment, not one opportunity, not one lucky moment. Clusters, waves, bursts, like the universe had been holding everything behind a dam, waiting for the moment you finally became ready. Adrian didn't know this principle by name, but he was feeling it in real time. In that span of single day, he moved from nothing to 2 income opportunities and a sudden sense of expansion. He could feel his timeline speeding up like a train that finally started moving, slow at first but unstoppable once in motion. As he sat down to work on his laptop, Adrian suddenly remembered something, a conversation he had with his grandmother when he was 12. She had told him, "Money comes to those who walk with purpose, not those who sit with fear." He never understood it as a kid, he understood it now. He wasn't chasing money, he was walking in purpose, and money was chasing him, just like a radio voice had said. In that moment, Adrian felt something warm behind his eyes, a tear, not of sadness, not of relief, a tear of realization. He whispered, "Dad, Mom, Grandma, I'm not failing, I'm learning." And with that, he released years of guilt, years of self-hate, years of feeling not enough. This emotional release was random. It was essential because money cannot enter a heart filled with shame, but it flows instantly into a heart filled with clarity. Adrian was clearing the channel, releasing the blocks, making space. As he worked, Adrian entered a flow. Ideas came easily. Energy felt high. Hours passed without him realizing he wasn't working for money. He was working for alignment, and that changes everything because manifestation is not about forcing, manifestation is about flowing. Adrian had never experienced this before. This ease, this clarity, this inner knowing. He wasn't thinking about survival, he was thinking about creation. He wasn't vibrating lack, he was vibrating abundance. He had, without knowing it, entered the money frequency. Around 9 p.m., just as he finished the first part of his project, his phone buzzed. A payment notification, not from Rishi, not from the second caller. This was unexpected. An online platform he had done a tiny freelance job for months ago finally cleared his payment, a small amount, but it hit at the exact moment his vibration aligned. Adrian stared at the phone and laughed, not a loud laugh, a soft emotional laugh, the kind you release when the universe reminds you that nothing is coincidence. This payment was not random. It was a sign, a signal, a confirmation. He whispered, it's working. And it was because now everything was aligning. As the day ended, Adrian sat on his balcony again, the same place he had whispered his surrender that night before. And the inner voice returned, not as a whisper, not as a sound, but as a knowing. Today was only the beginning. Keep going, big money is on the way. And Adrian believed it. For the first time ever, he believed it. Adrian didn't sleep immediately. He sat on his balcony chair, legs stretched out, head tilted back, and for the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about tomorrow with fear. He was thinking about tomorrow with possibility. He could feel it. His chest was lighter, his mind was quieter, his energy brighter. The shift was unmistakable. Most people never notice this moment, but it's the moment your new timeline becomes real. Adrian whispered, I can feel something coming. And he was right, something big was already on its way. The next morning, he woke up at 6:04 a.m. without an alarm, not tired, not heavy, not anxious, just clear. He didn't realize this, but waking up before the alarm is one of the biggest signs your vibration has shifted. Because the body syncs with the new frequency. He sat on his bed and instinctively placed his hand over his heart. His heart was beating calmly, rhythmically, powerfully. He felt like confidence. He whispered, okay, I'm not the same as yesterday. And he wasn't. He walked to his window. The morning sky was still pale blue, lights flickering on in distant buildings. And out of nowhere, he had a visual flash, a vivid one. He saw himself working in a beautiful apartment with sunlight pouring in. He saw a desk, a better laptop, a plan next to him, a mug with his name on it. He saw himself laughing, relaxed, confident, prosperous. This was not imagination. This was a timeline glimpse. When your vibration rises high enough, the subconscious leaks previews of what's coming. Adrian didn't understand that, but he felt it. He held the image in his mind for a moment, as something inside whispered, this is you, just not yet. At 8:13 a.m., a text arrived from the unknown client who had called him the night before. It said, "Hey, I reviewed your initial work. It's exactly what we need. Can you take on 2 extra tasks?" 2 extra tasks meant 2 extra payments, 2 extra opportunities, 2 extra vibrations of abundance. Adrian started at the message. This was not normal. Work usually came slow for him, if it is came to at all, but now everything was happening fast, too fast, perfectly fast, because manifestation works like this. The moment you shift your identity, the world shifts its behavior towards you. Adrian replied instantly, "Absolutely." He didn't second guess, he didn't hesitate. He felt capable. For the first time in months, he felt valuable. He sat at his laptop and noticed something crazy. His posture was different, his breathing was different, his entire energy was different. He wasn't working to earn money, he was working like money was already his. This is the law of assumption in action. When you behave as the successful version of you would behave, the world has no choice but to match that identity. Our Adrian's wasn't aware of Neville Goddard or these teachings, but unknowingly he had activated the most powerful law. He typed faster, thought faster, solved problems faster, because when you assume abundance, abundance assumes you back. At 1:30 p.m., another notification, this time an email. A small content agency he would applied to months ago finally replied, "We would like to test you with a paid assignment." Adrian's jaw dropped. This wasn't luck. This wasn't coincidence. This was an avalanche and cascade, a domino effect. This happens when your vibrations hit alignment. Old seeds suddenly start sprouting. Old effort suddenly starts paying. Old timeline suddenly came back alive. He looked up at the ceiling and smiled without meaning to. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay, universe, I see you." But then something unexpected happened. Around 3 p.m., when his energy dipped a little, a thought creeped in, a small one, a dangerous one. Is this too good to be true? He didn't know this, but every person who begins manifesting money faces this test. The universe doesn't test your worthiness, it tests your consistency, your stability, your belief, not for punishment, but because manifestation collapses the moment fear becomes stronger than belief. For a moment, Adrian felt that old anxiety trying to pull him back, the old vibration, the old timeline, the old life. His breath quickened, his mind raced, but then he remembered the envelope from yesterday, the call, the payment, the assignments, the opportunities, and his fear dissolved. He whispered, "No, I'm not going backward, not again." And instantly, the anxiety vanished. This was the last test, and he passed.